Pokeball, the tool meant for catching Pokemon, also known as pocket monsters, that became the iconic symbol that's related to anything in this series. Of course, there are many types of Pokeballs, like the Great Ball, Ultra Ball, Luxury Ball, Dusk Ball, and many more. But where does the Pokeball come from? Hey, I'm ScarKnight and this is the ScarKnight's Theory. Now, this theory is created by me to find out the origin of the Pokeball and understanding why it is the way it is. Why is it this design in particular, and if it stems from anything on the roots of the origin of the Pokeball itself. So far, things that we already know. 1. They are sold in the Pokemart in every region. 2. In the Johto region in Azalea Town, you can find a Pokeball master named Kurt, who makes special types of Pokeballs. Not only that, it gives us special information that says Pokeballs are made, in fact, out of apricorns. Now, for those special types of Pokeballs that he can make for you, he makes stuff like the Lure Ball, Fastball, Heavy Ball, etc, etc. A not so subtle detail about Kurt is that his ancestors are the first and only ones that know how to make the Pokeball up until companies decided to mass produce them. 3. There are several Pokemon that look like Pokeballs that we're going to cover in this video. One in particular that I want to mention right now is Magearna, who was created by scientists 500 years ago. Now, originally, if you look at this form right here, it has the same colors as the ordinary Pokeball. Now, the newer version is just silver, but the weird thing is, it has been mentioned about his Pokeball appearance, but it was just never brought up again. 4. In Pokemon Legends Arceus, you start the colonization with these wooden steam-powered Pokeballs, trying to create the first Sinnoh Pokédex. Now, you're not gonna have a device in hand because this is a long time ago, like when Sinnoh was just founded. But what I find really interesting, this Pokeball in particular could very well be the very first Pokeball that is made from Kurt's ancestors themselves. 5. In Kalos there's a Pokeball factory, but strangely it says right here, quote, an expensive factory where every Pokeball used in the Kalos region is produced, end quote. The reason it's so suspicious to me is because why only the Kalos region? You'd think this Pokeball factory was supplied to every region, but it just says Kalos. There's still a possibility of other regions having a Pokeball factory of their own, but nonetheless, it's still a vital part of the Pokeball's origin. Another vital part about this origin is Memory Link, which is a feature in Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, where the protagonists talk to certain specific characters throughout the game to show flashbacks of events that happen in Pokemon Black and White or between these games. But enough talking about what Memory Link is, let's talk about why it is a vital part. If you talk to Drayden, one of Unova's gym leaders, he does in fact has a Memory Link. Of course, this is when you beat the game. But in this Memory Link, he's talking to Iris. Now, without spoiling anything, all I could say is that this Memory Link is about Drayden being proud of Iris, that she became the successor and Drayden saw potential in Iris ever since she was little. Throughout this dialogue, however, there's one line that sticks out. Quote, when I was little, Pokeballs didn't exist yet, end quote. How old was Drayden? I mean, he is a gym leader, but on top of that, he is also a mayor. Well, yeah, he's not the first elderly gym leader because we got Kris Kringle over here and the sisters. But now we know that the Pokeballs weren't a thing in the caveman days, I think. Wait a second though, was there signs of Pokeballs when they started? Actually, yes. In ancient times, there was known ways of capturing Pokemon in different things. Just like in Pokelanus and Pokeopolis, there was giant Pokemon contained in these artifacts. There's also orbs that look similar to a Pokeball. A claim in an episode said that a giant Pokeball captured a giant Claydol. At least that's what it said in the legends. The one that's most unexplained is that there's this one episode where there's a pirate from 300 years ago, that's 300 years ago, that said he had Pokeballs with Ghastly and Haunter in them. But these Pokeballs are 300 years old, so it literally makes no sense. This technology wouldn't have been a thing at that time. There's also different kind of orbs that are just like a Pokeball or just orbs in general that possesses legendary Pokemon. In Pokemon Forever, there's a certain something. But before we could get into that, if you haven't watched the movie already, put on your expiration milk cast because you're about to get spoiled. Alright, never saying that again. Oh well. It's about the legendary Pokemon named Celebi, a Pokemon who can travel through time. In the beginning of the movie, he was being targeted by a Pokemon hunter. While being chased, this trainer, Little Sammy, went inside this forest that was worn by this lady right here. She tells him not to move an inch when you hear the voice of the forest. The voice of the forest? Sounds like a mystery. Oh, shut up, Fred. At least this lady was nice enough to give him some bread. Along the way, little Sammy bumped into Celebi while the Pokemon Hunter was still chasing him, and with a desperate attempt, Celebi warped to the future with little Sammy. 40 years later, Ash goes to the same forest with the same warning, but this time, no bread. You think he got the warning? Nope. He literally, the first thing he does is sprint.
Maybe it's the voice of the forest. Come on! Ash, no!
Hey, shouldn't we stand still? Wait up!
My thoughts exactly, Brock. They meet with little Sammy and he flips out? Like he pushed Ash. Huh, didn't think Ash had this much of a quick temper. Supposedly he was only trying to help.
Why'd you do it? That's Celebi! I'm trying to help you!
That's enough!
Ash climbs just like a monkey. Hey, what'd you do that for?
I think Ash just evolved into a primate.
We're only trying to help you.
Right. Afterwards, they're friends with Celebi. Ooh, oh. Okay, enough of that. Time for the Iron Mask Marauder. Probably the best part of the movie, absolute badass of Team Rocket asks the whereabouts of Celebi from the Pokemon Hunter from 40 years ago, and catches Tyranitar in a Dark Ball, a Pokeball that catches a Pokemon and makes them evil, and maxes out their level. Apparently it's a Master Ball too. Do you sell these in a Pokemart? I wouldn't mind getting a Dark-type Flotion. The Iron Mask Marauder also has a Scizor and a Sneasel, and he actually captures Celebi, and makes him turn into something you only see off of Magic.
Celebi's building a nasty nest!
There goes Jesse!
Yep, there goes Jesse. But what's pretty cool about this is what he tells Jesse what he's gonna do.
You and Celebi are extremely powerful! Now just get me down from here and I'll recommend you for a big promotion when you give Celebi to the boss!
I control the most powerful Pokemon in the world! Why would I want to give something that valuable to the boss?
What do you mean?
Now the boss has to be afraid of me, because Celebi gives me the power to destroy him. With Celebi I can rule Team Rocket, and the whole world if I want to!
The reason I find this so cool is that he understands what he has. Jesse and James will be dumb enough to give a Mewtwo away. Hypothetically speaking, of course. Only to get betrayed by Giovanni, because let's be honest, we all see this coming a mile away. If the Iron Mask Marauder gave Celebi to Giovanni, that's exactly what's gonna happen. Screw the promotion. To wrap things up, Suicune aka the North Wind appears and helps Ash and little Sammy to get to Celebi's senses. And unfortunately, in the process, Celebi passes away. Wait, what? Then they brought up the idea of Suicune to purify the lake with Suicune's ability, and it still doesn't work. Wait, what? Then everyone cries and the Pokemon bark into the sky, and then all the Celebis come out of nowhere. Wait, what? No, that makes no sense. Were they different Celebis or the same Celebi from past and the future?
The spirits of the future and the past can travel through time as well, and so they've all come.
Alright, I guess that's... No, that literally isn't fair. Like, what if Celebi dies and then just like, oh, I'm dying in this timeline of 1932 on March 10th, 5:32 Eastern Time, so you're just gonna bring him back to life. So technically speaking, Celebi would live forever just because he can revive himself. Oh, that is so bull. Either way. Then Celebi revives himself, but it looks like he just woke up from a nap. Whatever.
You tried to destroy our forest, mister, and we don't take kindly to that kind of behavior.
Sizzle! Sneasel! This is all a mistake! A big misunderstanding!
I think the Pokemon understand perfectly.
How's that funny? The fuck? I'm sorry, I always found that funny when they cut that little part of the music. Can we just rewatch that part, please? Just that part? Oh my god! Celebi's fine, little Sammy goes to his original time, and Ash explained all this to Professor Oak. And in this conversation shows a interesting plot twist of Pokemon Forever, and it's that Ash was explaining how much he'll miss his friend, and Oak follows up with, "I'm sure you and Sammy will be friends forever." It cheers up Ash, but then on the way back to the boat, Misty realizes something odd about Oak just said mentioning Sammy, when they never brought his name up. Then to reveal that the sketchbook that Sammy had with the picture of Pikachu and Celebi sleeping, which confirms that Sammy is Professor Oak. So now it's finally revealed, little Sammy is Professor Oak, and the reason why basically I had to do a movie review. But that was fun, right? You just witnessed history in the making. So again, Pokeballs Mystery, Memory Link, Drayden, Little Sammy, Professor Oak. Okay, got it. Well, during the match between the Iron Mask Marauder versus Ash and Little Sammy, is Little Sammy holding a very primitive Pokeball in which he owns a Charmeleon. This moment where he uses the primitive Pokeball and Ash is like, "Oh, what's that?" is the answer to the mystery of the Pokeball. Let's make a timeline. You got yourself prehistoric Pokemon, and you got yourself ancient times right here. Today of the modern times with 1000 plus Pokemon. And then we got Drayden, who claims that when he was younger there was no Pokeballs. According to Bulbapedia, Professor Oak is 47 years old in Red, Blue, and Yellow days, and 50 years old in Gold, Silver, Crystal. And in between Pokemon Black and White and Black 2 and White 2 is 2 years later, so he could be 52 years old. So 47 to 52 years old, but since Pokemon Forever is in the Gold, Silver, and Crystal days, let's just say Oak is 50 and Little Sammy was 10, since 40 years later it'll add up. Drayden has to be older because not only for his childhood, but he's thinking of retiring. The retirement age varies between 60 to 65 years old. Some of you might be saying, well, why would he retire, or what if he's younger than Oak and just live in a place where Pokeballs weren't a thing? Drayden in the memory link is talking to his successor, meaning someone to pass the torch, and he's passing it to Iris. I know Drayden's in great shape, but it's not impossible to be elderly and in shape. Just look at Mr. McMahon, he was 62 years old here and he looks like that. Professor Oak is just a researcher that doesn't do much activity. As for the possibility that Drayden lived in a place where Pokeballs weren't a thing, very unlikely. Pokeballs spread like wildfire. Even in a place like the Village of Dragons where people are one with Pokemon and the air is fresher, must at least heard of the most iconic device in the world. So what's the point of this? Well, the point is, if you look at some Pokemon that look similar to a Pokeball, we got a couple of Pokemon. Like Voltorb, Electrode, Vivillon, Foongus, Amoonguss, and Magearna. According to a different theory, Voltorb is a hunter possessing a Pokeball and became its own Pokemon. It's not impossible since ghost Pokemon gets the tendency to possess things. Just look up Annette and Rotom. If this theory was true, then on the timeline it would be placed after Little Sammy since the Pokeball was fully developed and Little Sammy has the primitive Pokeball. Electrode, of course, the evolution of Voltorb, kinda looks like a Gengar. Kind of. Vivillon is a bit hard to explain because this Vivillon is the special event Pokeball Vivillon that's off Mystery Gift, that along with Fancy Vivillon are separate from what Vivillon are known for. All the different designs of Vivillon are dependent on the environment, so you see why it's hard to distinguish if the Pokeball and the Fancy designs are actually based on the environment. But we got another species, Foongus and Amoonguss. This is the answer, don't you see? According to the Pokedex entry, it says, quote, "It lures people in with this Pokeball pattern, then releases poison spores. Why it resembles a Pokeball is unknown." End quote. First off, can you actually believe that Foongus and Amoonguss are actually carnivores? Like, they eat meat. They're plants, they eat meat. Little mushrooms, they eat meat. What? And secondly, unknown. Is it really unknown? Objection! It's not unknown that the Pokemon looks like the Pokeball, but the Pokeball that looks like the Pokemon. On the timeline, Foongus and Amoonguss must have been in the wild for more than 65 years. Even in Pokemon Black and White, Professor Juniper made the hypothesis that Clink is a Pokemon that had been around for about 100 years. Ladies and gentlemen, when they complete the Pokeball, Foongus and Amoonguss had to have influenced the design of the Pokeball. Remember when I talked about the Pokeball factory? What if that is where it all started? I find this more likely to be because of the following. A route near Levier City is a route where you can find Foongus. There's also a Lost Hotel where you can find Electrode. Why is it that it's near the Pokeball factory? And why is it surrounded by mushrooms? This is something I speculated. In ancient times, there was many variations of things to obtain Pokemon. Just look at some episodes where they have certain objects. There are certain items like the primitive Pokeball. So this is what I believe happened. Kurt's ancestors a long time ago made the first variation of the primitive Pokeball made out of wood and is steam powered to help with the colonization of Sinnoh. Designed this variation of Pokeball after Foongus and Amoongus, a Pokemon they really loved, that really inspired the creation of this coloration. Eventually, even Magearna was designed based on this primitive Pokeball, in essence something that collects life energy by Pokemon encapsulated in the sphere called the Soul Heart. That alone inspires something else. Down the line, companies started mass producing them, becoming a must-have for everybody to have. Even trainers like Lil Sammy having this type of Pokeball in its primitive state. Kinda looks like Magearna now, doesn't it? At some point since then though, they made a more completed, more up-to-date Pokeball based on what they're really fond of, Foongus and Amoongus, the source material. When they made a more advanced Pokeball, the Master Ball, it's also influenced from the shiny Foongus and Amoongus, who has similar colors. That comment I made about how surprising it is that Foongus and Amoongus are carnivores, think about how similar of a function that is to a Pokeball, capturing and obtaining your prey. Now you might be thinking, wouldn't Magearna be the subject on the creation? I think not, because I think Foongus and Amoongus was around even before her. She is a man-made Pokemon after all, about 500 years ago. And signs of the Pokeball's origin was even before that. As for the Pokeball factory, only supplying Pokeballs to Kalos, it's still bizarre, but there are other companies in the Pokemon world that supplies to all the other regions. Think of it like computers. There can be more than one computer company that gives out pretty much the same product. Although Silph a bit iffy if they do make Pokeballs, because they do give you the Master Ball. Devon Corporation makes different variations of Pokeballs like the Repeat Ball and the Net Ball that distributes to all the regions. So maybe the Pokeball factory doesn't need to distribute worldwide. There are some stuff that are still unexplained, like 300-year-old Pokeballs from a pirate that had a Gaslian Hunter. How are you able to get the Pokeball before the primitive Pokeball? Did you time travel? But hey, you know, Pokemon sometimes contradict themselves, like Onix being Thunder Shocked, Rhydon being Thunder Shocked, Golem being Thunder Shocked, Electric Armor Pikachu, whatever, I don't know. Either way though, when you catch a Pokemon, make sure they're not too overleveled, because you need to have certain badges What the? Gary? How? Hey, you made it this far. Did you like the video? Then smash that like button down below if you learned anything new here today. But if you are new here, consider subscribing on the doohickey right here. After that, click on the eye or on the link in the description to go to the mystery video and watch the entire thing. Like, share, fave, and put the code #TheFoongus in the comment section in that video to give you priority and stuff like contests in the future. You've been Scar by the Night. I'm out. Let's imagine that if Drayden never hear of these so-called 300-year-old / 200-year-old Pokeballs that's been around for all these ages. Oh yeah, and forget to mention that he's the mayor? Like, you would think that the mayor would know this type of stuff. Miss Mayor, have you heard of the Pokeball? Oh, what's this, a Pokeball? I never heard of such a thing. Don't we just play Frisbee and go out with our Pokemon or something? Oh, the Pokeball's the most popular thing in the marts right now. Everyone has them. Oh, that's Bulbadash. No, of course not.